Have you just had it when it comes to goal setting? You get all motivated, you set a goal, and before you know it, it starts to feel like the light at a never ending tunnel. And then, even if you muster enough willpower to actually work on the goal, you're just not getting the outcome you were looking for. Well, this never ending cycle stops today by making one simple change: what you're focusing on. That, my friends, is what we're going to be uncovering in episode 60 today of the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast.
Are you a strong, independent woman who's passionate about her career? Then this podcast is perfect for you. Based on her book, The Career Woman's Secret Playbook, career coach Dr. Dawn Hamby shares the kind of insider secrets you can only know if you've hired, fired, and promoted employees over the past 30 years.
Ladies, I'm on a mission to help busy women just like you create a career and life you love without sacrificing your work-life balance to get it. Come join me as we inspire and motivate each other only as women can, and have lots of fun along the way.
With Dr. Dawn's tools, strategies, and action steps, you can unleash your personal and professional power in a whole new way. Here's today's episode.
Welcome back to the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn. And as I mentioned in the intro, this one strategy can become a real game changer when it comes to achieving your goals. In today's episode, I'm not only going to give you the specific details on what that actually is, but I'm also going to share specific strategies and action steps so that you can put this all in place right away. And today I've got something special for you. I've got a call of action at the very end of today's episode. So if you stay with us to the very end and listen to these very specific instructions, you're going to get a chance to enter into a door prize. And of course, I'll give you all those details at the end of today's episode. Now, before we begin, let me give a big shout out to our loyal listeners. You guys are so awesome. You've been giving us 5-star reviews. Your comments are so great. I read each and every one, so thank you so much for your support. Now, if you are new here on my podcast and YouTube channel, we focus on helping today's professionals build their brand, upskill their career, and definitely live their lives with more passion and purpose. As a business consultant and coach, my ultimate goal is to help empower you and your organization. We do this through workshops, seminars, and one-on-one coaching. So please reach out to us anytime if you think we can help. And as a thank you for listening, head right over to drdawnshoptalk.com. There you can find tons of free resources that can help you have a much better day, both at work and at home. Okay, listeners, let's get into it. The one thing I want you to focus on to help you achieve everything we're going to be talking about today is this: shift your focus from the goals themselves, in other words, what you really can't control, and instead focus on the systems you have in place, in other words, what you can control. That's right, friends. The key is not to set more and more goals. You're not going to be able to reach your big dreams that way. Instead, refine the systems you have in place. And if you don't have any, we're going to create those, right? And then create those habits to support them. And as always, on this podcast and on our YouTube channel, we're not going to just talk about an issue. I'm going to make sure I always give you tools and strategies and action steps to help you actually do something about it. Today, I'm going to help you make that shift so you can finally see some progress on maybe some goals that you feel you're so close to reaching, but they still feel just a little bit out of reach. So let's take a deeper dive real quick, and then we'll talk about the actual strategies and action steps. But before you can really solve a problem, you might notice on my podcast, I'm going to take always an insider view and share insider secrets to why the problem exists in the first place. You know, they say all the time, if you don't know about the problem, you can't fix the problem. They also say, when you know better, you do better. The problem is sometimes people go straight into trying to find a solution, which again, That's not a bad strategy. I do want you to be solution oriented, but let's really understand the dynamic of what's going on, why it's a problem in the first place. Because if you really get that, then you will continue to come up with additional strategies that can help you because you'll have a better idea of really how this is affecting you in a negative way. So, why do systems really matter more than the goals themselves? Well, here it is in a nutshell. It's really because goals give you a direction, but it's the systems that keep you moving forward. For example, let's say you're taking a class, and it doesn't matter that maybe you're out of school, you've been in the workforce for years. If you're a go getter, which I already know you are, because if you're listening to this podcast or watching us on YouTube, you care about your own professional and personal development. You hear me say that all the time. It's just because I'm so passionate about that belief because I've seen it firsthand. It really is true. So, for you, if you're going to take something on, you want to give it your best, right? And if you're taking on a class, let's say to earn a certification or some sort of credential, you're going to want to do your best. If at all possible, you want to get that A in that class. But take it from a former teacher. I know for a fact, right, that whether or not an A shows up on that paper, that's up to me. That's not up to the person taking the class. So, in other words, your goal of reaching an A is really out of your control. What is in your control is you making your best effort and putting the habits in place for you to learn and remember everything you need to know in order to do well in that class. I say this all the time. This has been around for years. The idea that you're in control of the effort, not the outcome. And remember, sometimes when the outcome is even disappointing in some cases, like maybe you didn't make an A, maybe your grade was a little less than that. Sometimes it teaches you another lesson. So learn the lesson it has to teach you. Just don't shortchange yourself by not giving it your all. So back to that class example, what the student really does have control over is the effort they make. Are they taking the time to study and study smarter, not harder? Are they working with their learning styles or even watching other videos to maybe figure out what that is if they don't even know? Are they asking questions? Are they forming a study group? Are they writing out flashcards or using other study techniques that maybe can really help? Are they buying additional books to help them in preparation for an exam? Those kinds of things. So, again, since we now know there's a big difference, it's subtle, but it makes a big impact when you focus again on this instead. Another way to think about it is your goal is the destination, but the systems you have in place to get there is really your roadmap, or as I like to say, your playbook, right? It's going to give you the steps you need to achieve that goal. So, to put it all together for you, let's do this. Let's break down how focusing on the daily tasks and habits, those are your systems, and focusing on that rather than the end result. Let's look at how that strategy, that roadmap, that playbook is going to lead you to greater success. So now that you really understand the problem, now that we know better, we're going to do better, right, ladies? So here we go. I'm going to give you 5 of my favorite strategies when I set a goal and I'm getting frustrated and I'm not achieving it. Here's how I overcome it. Strategy number 1, build consistent habits. We know this works, right? Take a big problem, break it down into smaller steps, and then become consistent. If you're chipping away at that goal consistently each and every day, and you get yourself so motivated and excited to do it, you're going to see a huge impact in this one strategy alone. I always, if you've been listening for a while, you know I'm always telling you to start small. So do that. Start small by identifying one habit that directly aligns with your goal and go from there. For example, what if your goal is to get healthier this year? You want to make sure before 2024 comes to an end, you've reached some health goals. Well, one small change you can make in getting healthier, perhaps you're not drinking enough water. Your one action step could be to track that And to make it fun for yourself, for example, that was a goal of mine last year. I went to Amazon and bought the cutest glass bottles that have different colored silicone sleeves. I'm a very visual person and I love anything color coding. So these 6 glass water bottles, right? I can wash them in the dishwasher, all of these things. I fill them up the night before when I'm wanting to work on my water. They're in the fridge. They're getting nice and chilled overnight. And in the morning, I grab one of those bottles with my cup of coffee. And when I get done with that first cup of coffee, I've already had a full glass bottle of water, which ounce wise, by the way, is really 2 cups because my glass bottles are 16 ounces. So that's just a simple way that I'm able to get my waters in. If I want more water, okay, if I want like a full gallon, that could be a challenge. I also bought something for that to help me when I really do want to go above and beyond and upskill in that area. But again, that's one simple change I made. It wasn't even an expensive investment. It was very reasonably priced on Amazon. I love everything Amazon. If you ever want the link, let me know and I'll include it. But it's a small change I made, and it was an easy way to stay consistent. Here's some other tips on the how. You might want to use some sort of habit tracker. Remember that gallon I told you about? If you're watching us on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and insert a picture here so you can see what I'm talking about. But this is one of those kind of plastic bottles. They're super big and you could carry it around with you or pour it into something else. I like to pour my water into an insulated cup with ice that keeps it cold. But this great water bottle, I love it, the gallon size. It's colorful, it's pink, yellow, really cute, and it's got tracking measurements on it. So, for example, it tells me exactly how much water I need to have had to drink by the time 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. comes around. So, that particular gallon water bottle runs from 7 in the morning until 9 p.m., which I love. You guys, I'm already getting up at 3 in the morning a lot of the time to go to the bathroom. I am at that age. Okay. So, I really do need to stop drinking anything. I don't need to go much past 9 o'clock, right? So, but I say all that because that's the how, okay? The how really is to set that one small goal, be consistent, and then, of course, make sure you find some sort of way to track that. There's even wonderful goal trackers, free apps that you can download that could help you as well. And one more bonus tip on the how. Make sure you're celebrating your small wins. Don't wait. Like if it's weight loss, for goodness sakes, don't wait until you lose a whole pound. Again, you don't really have any control over how quickly your body's going to respond to that. Maybe weight loss isn't even something you should be thinking about. Maybe it should be getting stronger, that kind of thing. So if you're only tracking it in one way, I've mentioned this before in my health and wellness videos, using weight loss as an example, you can't just use the scale. In fact, that's usually the worst way to measure. So no matter what your goal is, make sure you find a variety of ways to measure it and celebrate those small wins all along the way. So if weight loss was my goal, for example, then I'm not going to wait until I lose a pound. I'm instead going to reward myself if I've been consistent for, say, 3 days in a row. I kind of like that. 3 sounds really manageable to me. I think 2 days is just not long enough for me personally. One day, I might treat myself to a bubble bath or something, but if it's 3 days in a row, I'm going to do something special for myself. So again, I control the effort, not the outcome. What the scale says, if that's what I'm using, is not always a reflection of how much healthier I really am, if that's in fact one of my goals. Strategy number 2. This one I'm calling prioritize systems over outcomes. So again, back to weight loss. Don't focus on just losing 10 pounds. Or let's say you're putting your hat in the ring, so to speak, for that promotion. Don't focus on whether you actually get that promotion. Instead, again, you're going to focus on the systems you have in place, the habits that you are creating, the action steps you're taking to get there. It's really about creating a sustainable system that you can get excited about and do well. So, for example, if health is a goal, we mentioned that earlier, maybe it's not weight loss. If you want to get stronger, maybe you're instead going to set a goal of lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week, or perhaps exercising more often, perhaps taking a short walk 5 days a week, let's say. Or maybe procrastination has been an issue of yours and you've decided that you're going to reward yourself if you submit that project early. That's not only a great goal, but definitely something, again, that you should reward yourself for. You may not know if the client is going to actually close on that deal when you submit that proposal, but you are responsible as to when you submit it. Did you submit it by the deadline or did you submit it early? Or hopefully you weren't late on the deadline, right? Those are the kinds of things you could set as a goal and again work to get there. So, on the how for strategy number two, again, don't forget to break your goal into those repeatable steps, whether it's daily, weekly, or monthly. Next, focus on completing each one of those tasks, not on whether you got immediate results. And then the third thing I want you to do in order to, actually achieve the second strategy, I want you to evaluate that system regularly to make sure it's effective. Okay, speaking of reflecting on these kinds of things, here's a separate strategy on that alone. That's strategy number three. I'm calling it track and reflect regularly. Listen, when I don't achieve something right away, for me, that's a sign that I just have something in my system that's flawed. There's something that's just not getting me excited enough to really do it. So you need to look back, see what's working, what's not working. The best companies out there, the most successful companies, take their quote losses or their defeats as something positive. Now, they're not going to think that positively right off the bat if they're losing money, right? But what I mean by that is they're going to see that as a sign that their customer base is not purchasing that item, doesn't want that item, or whatever it is they're putting out there. It's either obviously a good or a service, right? It's telling that company that that particular idea is just not going to work. So then what do? Do you keep throwing good money after bad? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean you should be afraid to try that new idea for that company. And again, we could use that in our personal lives too. Go ahead and try that. If you're trying to get over procrastination, get to places early, things like that, try different ways to accomplish it. And then if it's just not working, don't give up on the goal. Change your approach. And speaking of that, let me just add this little bonus tip for you. When things are not working, that's when you need to let go of guilt, let go of shame. I would say let go of frustration, but it's okay to be frustrated for a minute. Feel bad. My family rule has always been you get to feel really bad for 24 hours. After that, cry it out, eat a pint of ice cream if that's your jam, watch a Netflix binge. Hey, I personally love that choice. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel better, get it out of your system. But then after those 24 hours, dust yourself off, realize that a setback, okay, does not have to ruin everything, not by a long shot. Okay, a bend in the road is not the end of the road. So reevaluate, tweak along the way, adjust those systems accordingly, let go of that guilt, let go of that disappointment, and just realize it's teaching you that you need to go in another direction. Strategy number four, I want you to surround yourself with accountability. An accountability partner is so awesome. It could be a close friend, it could be a mentor, it could be your partner, your spouse, your children, whatever the case may be. Pick someone that you really look up to and admire and let them know that you want some accountability. You want a little tough love, maybe, but mostly love. Lead with love. So be careful who you pick. We don't want their, maybe negativity, perhaps they are a little bit too much on the tough love of things, right? So pick someone who really resonates, like their personality really inspires you. And you know that you would be able to hear any constructive criticism in the best way possible. They really can offer support, motivation, and feedback when you need it the most. Okay, as I said before, we're not going to just talk about it. I'm going to show you how. So here's how you achieve strategy number four. Reach out to that trusted person. consistently and ask them to check on you regularly. The second thing I want you to do is be really specific about the support you need. People are not mind readers, even if it's someone really close to you. And sometimes we can get our feelings hurt if you think you've explained it well and you're still not getting the result. That's the thing about communication. You have a way that you're saying something, and you really think the person's going to take it a certain way. We know, especially those of you who've taken any kind of leadership or communication class, there's always that other person's point of view, and somewhere in the middle, you hope that connection is made. You hope to bridge that gap so you both understand each other's point of view. So be careful with communication. Make sure you ask clarifying questions so you don't misconstrue something and make it worse. So, again, just be specific about that. Decide what you really need. Is it a weekly check in? Is it every other week? What would make you feel supported without being bombarded? Last but not least, strategy number 5, celebrate the process, not just the outcome. So, like I said earlier, we need to be better about celebrating the journey. By celebrating each step forward, you're going to stay motivated and you'll be able to remind yourself that success is a result of consistent effort. And sometimes, ladies, it's just going to take time. That's why time really is our most precious commodity. So, I don't want you to waste it. I want you to spend that time investing in yourself, making sure you're taking these action steps. And I promise you, you're definitely going to see some improvement. You're going to see that progress. So how do we do that? So again, we're celebrating the journey and not just that destination. Well, here's a way. Take note of every small win. I would check in each and every day and see what went well. Don't wait to the end of the week. Who has time for that? When you're setting your sights on a goal that means something to you, you need to remind yourself each and every day. If it helps to do it each and every hour, hey, that's fine too. See what works for you. Again, try lots of different strategies. Don't let fear drive the decision making and celebrate that progress. If you stopped yourself from having a second serving, let's say, of that decadent dessert, and that's important to you because you're trying to maybe reduce your sugar, something like that, celebrate that. Not saying there's anything wrong with a second serving of dessert. Who doesn't love that? It depends on what your goals are. So celebrate those small wins. Don't take them for granted. All right, you guys, are you ready for that call to action I mentioned at the beginning of today's episode? Now that you know that if you focus on the systems and not the goal, you're going to have a much better chance of achieving them. Here's what I want you to do. Pick one of those 5 strategies we talked about today, and I want you to put them in place right away, whether it's a new habit or whether you're just refining your system. Once you've made that decision, here's what you do next. If you're interested in winning that door prize, it's a 2-step process. Number 1, give this video a thumbs up. And then number 2, in the comment section, I want you to post what strategy you're going to try. When you make that comment, I'll be able to see who that was, and your name will automatically be entered into the door prize. Now, here's what you win. You're going to win a private mini coaching session. You guessed it, with yours truly. We'll get to actually meet. Now, granted, it's going to be by Zoom, but you know what I'm saying. We are actually going to be able to meet each other, and we're going to be able to talk about what's going on in your business. We could even talk about some personal goals you might be struggling with. Whatever the case is, you and I are going to be able to meet and have a mini coaching session together, completely free of charge, just as a way to thank you for watching our video, listening to our episode today, and also giving us that little bit of engagement, because I'd love to know what strategy you're going to try. And then you talk about getting results by you sharing with me what worked. And again, what you tried, that's going to tell me what the audience is probably most interested in, so I can continue to put out some great content for you. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. We would love it if you would tell a friend to tell a friend about this episode, about our podcast and YouTube channel. We would really, really appreciate that. And if you want more tips and strategies, be sure to follow us on our socials at Dr. Dawn Shop Talk. That's just DRDAWN Shop Talk. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Last but not least, you guys, remember, if you're not having a fantastic day, you've got the power to make it one. Until I see you next time, make sure that you stay focused, stay consistent, and keep showing up for yourself and for your dreams. I know our episode is over, but this is just the beginning. If you're ready to take action but don't know where to start, just head over to drdawnshoptalk.com for lots of free resources, ways to work together, and for even more. Subscribe to the Dr. Dawn Shop Talk YouTube channel. Remember, ladies, you don't have to take this journey alone. I've got you covered. Till next time.